or butterfly pose with the soles of the feet together. And so if that feels comfortable to you, to come and lay back in that position, and you might even just start with the knees bent or the feet planted and then open up to that after a moment. You could also just lay flat and relax. You can stay here with the knees bent. So you can situate your back. I'm gonna sit back up just to make sure that you can hear me so I'm not on my back too long. Never know where my voice is going. But come onto that comfortable spot on your back. If your feet are together and if you feel any pressure on your knees or your hips from having the legs come out, you're welcome to, or I would encourage you to grab, if you have yoga blocks in your home yoga space, or just a couch cushion, a throw pillow, and you can kind of wedge them under those knees so that you have a little bit of support there. So that's going to be a great option as well. Palms are either face up on the floor next to you or palms down on the belly, and begin to take some really deep breaths here. So we're going to just settle into our breath here in this reclined position, Baddha Konasana, which means bound foot pose, or any other comfortable pose on your back. And begin to breathe deeply and relax. So here, as you begin to settle into the breath, feel like the plane of your body in this horizontal position, kind of, if you can imagine the breath coming in through the nose and moving across the body down to the belly. So usually think of the breath up and down, but since we're flat, really just think about that breath almost just slicing through the torso, inhaling deeply and exhaling back out through the throat. And see if you can start to steady and slow the breath so that the inhale and the exhale are about the same length. And so you're getting your inhale as deep as you can before beginning a nice steady exhale. So inhale deeply. Right when it hits that deepest point, then exhale. And if it's not quite there yet, that's okay. Just take your time. You can close your eyes if you like. If you'd like to set an intention for your practice today, it's just something to dedicate this time to, dedicate your energy to. Just continue to recline. Take several more rounds of breath here. And if you would like, begin to add a 4-part breath or 4-count breath. Just the simple inhaling to a count of 4 and exhaling to a count of 4. So if you feel like you're still trying to study the breath, then go ahead and add that count simply by inhaling 2, 3, 4, exhaling 2, 3, 4 for several rounds to try to kind of continue to find that steadiness. You can only count to 3, you can count to 5, or you can just, speed up or slow down the count, but use that number to find the evenness as you continue to breathe, knowing that the breath soothes our nervous system in a physical way. It's not just all in our head, so to speak. The breath is really helping the body to calm down and ground, which helps the mind to calm down and ground. Good. Now, as you continue to breathe deeply, we're going to add in some movement. And so you may be familiar with figure 4 with the legs or reclined pigeon. So what we're going to do is we're going to cross the left ankle over the right knee with the foot planted on the ground, and then option to draw that knee into the chest and then take it back down. And then you can either take the foot down or keep it floating and switch ankle over knee. Draw it into the chest and then take it back down. So continue with this movement, just swapping ankle over knee. And you can, if that may be enough stretch in your hip, you can keep the legs right there. You don't have to draw them into your chest at all. But if you have a little more mobility and movement, then you can draw it in and get a little more action in the lower abdominals. And so we're just revolving our figure 4, adding that little crunch, if you will, as an option. So again, you can take this to whatever level you'd like. If you keep the feet floating and never touch down, you're going to get a little more core activation. But if you'd like, you can take the foot all the way down in order to switch. And you will still, no matter what option you take, you're going to be getting some heating up of the core and some strengthening work here. At the same time, warming up the hips. We are going to be working toward Pigeon Pose today. Many variations on Pigeon Pose. And so we're kind of doing a little quick versions of a reclined pigeon. Try to keep breathing here. Inhale and exhale deeply. Don't worry about the speed or the pace of the movement with the breath right now. Just kind of keep focusing on the breath as you study through this movement. Couple more rounds. Good. Next time you have the left ankle up, then go ahead and bring both feet to the floor. Take the feet out a little wider than they may have landed and just windshield wiper the legs a few times left to right. Again, they may go far, they may just go a little bit side to side. Good. From here, we're going to make our way all the way up and through to hands and knees. So you can get up gently by rolling off onto your side and pressing yourself up, or if you'd like, take a few rocking chair movements here until you can roll all the way up and then flip yourself over. Coming to hands and knees, we'll just begin cat-cow. So in cat-cow, our hands are directly under our shoulders, our knees are directly under our hips, and we're slowly rolling the spine by dropping the belly, gently lifting the head, and then letting the head drop as the spine reaches. And here, see if it works, or practice maybe the act of syncing up the breath with the movement. This nice gentle movement, you don't have to think too hard about it. Maybe inhaling one side, exhaling the other. And remembering here in cat-cow that this movement is originating from the base of the spine and the pelvis. It's not about our head and our neck. The head and the neck are just gently kind of following where the spine is headed. So keep that in mind, nothing too severe with the head and the neck, especially as we lift up into cow pose, Uttanasana. Couple more rounds here, continue breathing. Pressing the hands down, shoulders are staying active. Good, go ahead and come back to a neutral spine. We're just gonna add in our spinal balance. So, as always, multiple options here. Starting with the right arm lifting. Stay here, this may be enough. Your core is working a lot because your arm is heavier than it seems, right? When you just lift it straight out. Option to lift the left leg straight back behind you, or you can straighten the left leg but still keep the toes on the floor, so you're kind of halfway. So 3 options here. Arm only, leg straight, toes down, leg straight, toes up. And then take it all down and switch. Same thing other side, so whichever option you took, take the same one on the opposite side. Left arm, option for left leg, option to lift. If the leg is lifted, we're not trying to lift it way up toward the sky. We just want to shoot straight out back from our hip. So the heel is not higher than our hip really here. And then take it down. We're gonna do this with a flowing motion. So inhale one side and exhale down. Inhale opposite side and exhale down. Several rounds. Really pressing the hand that's on the floor into the floor. So we keep this shoulder really strong and stable. We're not sagging into our shoulder joint. A couple more rounds. Let's do one more each side. Good, go ahead and come back to hands and knees and just snake the spine out left to right. Great, from here, we're gonna come onto our bellies. If you'd like, come down nice and slow or make your way, whatever works. Stepping the hands forward, maybe a little chaturanga as you come down. And then just a few rounds of the Flowy Cobra. So take the arms out a little wider than the mat. So tint the fingers on the fingertips. Think about the shoulders moving back first. Shoulders roll back. Thin chest lifts. Cobra pose, come right back down. And keep just flow with this. Just move with it. Take a few little rounds. The shoulders are leading, not the head. And as you keep moving, press the tops of the feet into the mat. So the legs are active. You can even add a little side to side here. So if you want to take the left shoulder back and let the right follow, left shoulder down, right follows, and switch sides. Just really flow around, get the lower back moving, firing up the arms a little bit. Good. As you come down, we're just gonna bring the hands down, elbows in, and set up for Sphinx. So a similar pose, a little different. Elbows are right under the shoulders, so they're not back here, they're not way out here. So the upper arm should be a straight up and down line. Press the hands into the mat. Press the forearms into the mat. Press the tops of the feet. Maybe you even feel the kneecaps lift. They may not lift all the way up the floor, but you can feel the weight come out of them by pressing the feet down. And now really shine the heart through the shoulders. And breathe. If you feel like your belly is too compressed to breathe, then think about pressing the pelvis down. See if you can get a little more lift through the belly. Give yourself plenty of room. Sphinx pose. Good. Come on down. We're gonna meet in a knee plank, so you can press yourself up. And then once again, depending on where the hands ended up, you may want to take them a little bit forward in order to rock forward into a knee plank. Pressing the hands down, that strength is in the shoulders. Take a big breath and then rock back toward child's pose. Not fully settling in, but taking the hips toward the heels and then come right back forward. Take several rounds of this motion from knee plank back towards child. If you'd like to take it up a notch, add a little more intensity, then it's high plank to downward dog. Either way, continue moving and flowing and really being careful to not sag the butt down, to not drop through the lower back. So our plank is nice and firm on the front side of our body. Regardless of whether the knees are up or down, we're finding that really firm place with no sagging. Good, let's meet in downward facing dog or child. So if you like downward dog, that feels good to you, go ahead and lift the hips up, press the hands down. If you'd rather be in child's pose, take the knees out wide, big toes together, drop it back. If you're in child's pose, the head is resting on the floor or on something. So if it doesn't quite reach the floor, then grab a pillow or something to slide under there so the neck can relax. If you're in downward dog, a little or a big bend through the knees, so you can really reach the hips up, lengthen through the spine, press the arms down, open the heart. Good, we're gonna come to forward fold at the top of our mat. So if you're in downward dog, come up on your toes, step or hop forward, come to Uttanasana, forward fold. If you're in child's, just gently come up on your hands and knees and make your way to standing. Dropping into forward fold, hands can cross in either elbow. I always like to have several moments in Uttanasana toward the beginning of each class to really lengthen through the spine and use gravity to help us do so. And really lengthening through the whole back body. So we're creating this extra long line from the back of the heels all the way up through toward the crown of the head. If you'd like to add some motion here, you can swing left to right. You can gently shake the head no, nod the head yes. But try to let the head hang here. It's really easy to want to lift the chin, lift the head, look forward slightly. But really try to relax it. Crown of the head is reaching down, using that gravity to find that extension through the spine. Breathing deeply. Good, then release the hands if they're folded. With a pretty good bend in the knees, we're gonna press ourselves all the way up to standing, reaching the arms up, and then bringing the hands down to prayer. Good, take a few moments here in standing with the feet hip distance apart, standing nice and firm, bring the hands together, press the hands together to just get that little bit of strengthening action through the shoulders and upper body. Close the eyes if you'd like, or just gaze to the floor and take a few deep breaths here, reconnecting with your intention. Returning to the breath. Standing really firm and strong. Good, and we'll just begin a few rounds of partial sun salutations. For those of you who have a full sun salutation in your practice, you're welcome to take the full thing and drop down into chaturanga, down dog if you'd like. That's just your option to take. I'll just be teaching the partial, kind of the first half of the salutation. We are going to add a chair pose, just a quick one, in each round of our sun salutation. And that's optional, so I'll let you know when we get there. But for those of you who are used to doing the partial, then just know we're going to add a little something into it today. So feet hip distance apart. Reach the hands up. And then come all the way to forward fold. You can take the arms out like a swan dive. You can take the arms in front of you like I did if you have a wall next to you preventing you from that. Inhale to lift halfway up. So create kind of a tabletop with the back, crown of the head reaching away. And then come back to your forward fold. Continue to breathe deeply. And then from here, slight bend in the knees every time we come up or down. Lift all the way up. And then here we're going to head for our chair pose. So just briefly take a seat, a little one or a deep one, and then come right back up. Good, hands come through to prayer, and then continue the same thing again. Inhale to lift. Exhale, lower. From Uttanasana, forward fold, halfway lift. Roll the shoulders down the back as you lift. Just kind of firm everything up into that table. And then come right back down, Uttanasana, forward fold. Head drops every time. Little bend in the knees, arms can come out to the side or through the front. And then I set down into the chair. I almost forgot already. Little chair pose, right back up. And then hands come through. Again, see if you can work on syncing up the breath with the movement. Inhaling as we lift, exhaling as we lower. But do whatever works for you to continue breathing deeply and steadily. Lifting all the way up and then settling down into that chair. Try to find length in the spine so we're not back bending or rounding or right in that neutral place. Back up, hands come through. Let's do two more. Inhale to lift. Exhale, fold. If you're taking full salutations of chaturanga, just take your time, do whatever works. Root to rise. So pressing the earth away from you is what's lifting you and set down into that chair. One more. Exhale to fold. Halfway lift. Uttanasana. And root to rise. A few extra breaths in our chair pose on this round. So settle it down. If you want to take the hands to prayer, you can do that, or you can keep them lifted. But find that length here. Heart is lifting, so if you're wanting to do this with your arms, go ahead and take the arms down so you can really open through the heart. Continue to breathe. Maybe sit down a little bit lower, and then come all the way up. Hands come down to prayer, and once again, just settle into the breath. If you'd like to close your eyes, take a few rounds. Good, we're going to come into a balancing pose. So we're gonna have two options to start with, and then within those options, more options. So many of you are familiar with tree pose, which is our kind of base balance pose in our yoga practice, where we bring the weight into one leg, and then the foot can stay down, or it can walk above or below the knee. So this is tree pose. That may be where you want to be today. Again, the foot can be down here, it can be down here. The other option is half chair pose. So we just practiced our chair, and on the floor we practice our figure 4, and this is kind of the same position with the legs, but standing. So in half chair pose, I'm gonna settle down, get a good little, kind of small bend here, and then I'm going to pick up one leg and cross that ankle over the opposite. So I'm in that same position with my body in chair, but I have the ankle crossed over. And then option is to set down a little deeper into your chair. So you're probably already in one of those, so I'll just keep us on the clock here. So if you're in this half chair, by pressing the ankle into the leg, you'll find a little more balance. In all the poses, pressing the hands into each other, you'll find a little more balance. And here, if you want to set down a little deeper, you can even come as far as to bring the hands to the floor. But with a flat back, bring the chest down. So we're not doing this, we're bringing the hips down in order to bring the hands down. A couple more breaths. Flex that top foot if you're here. If you're in tree pose, you have the option to wiggle or wave the arms left to right. Add some movement there. Or just keep the hands planted. And wherever you are, go ahead and release. And just shake the hips out a little bit. And then other side, same thing. So choose the same option you chose on the first side. It's chair pose. With the leg, again, the foot is either above or below the knee. So we're in this nice standing balance, or go ahead and take that little squat and then cross ankle over the knee. I can't remember which side I did, but I'm trusting you to do the opposite side. When we're all facing different directions, you never know what side everyone's on. So even it out, set the hips down if you'd like. Heart is still shining forward. Flex that top foot a little bit or a lot, and then draw that outside hip in. So we're not sagging ourselves over onto the leg where the weight is, but rather practicing. Come out of it, come back into it, switch if you want, but continue to balance and breathe for a few more breaths. Good, slowly release, and again, just shake the hips out. Maybe take some circles, swizzles, swizzle the hips. Good. From here, we're going to come into our Warrior 2 series. So come to the top of your mat, feet hip distance apart to start. And then we're going to start by stepping the left foot back and settling into Warrior 2. So Warrior 2, the back heel is down, lunging into the front leg. Arms are extended out. So adjust that foot so that the knee feels nice and safe. You can have a little bit of a lunge here or a deep lunge here, as long as we're in some form of a lunge. Maybe feeling a stretch through the back hip. Active arms. Take a few deep breaths. The spine is stacked right over the pelvis, not leaning forward at all. Then we're gonna add our strength to our arms here by pretending we're about to do a pull-up. Lift the arms up, palms are facing forward. I'm up off the screen with my long arms. And then grip the palms like you're gripping a bar. Really activate the arms and then pull down, imagining lifting the whole weight of your body up. And then feel how much strength and activation you get in your arms just by doing that. Try to maintain that strength, maintain the activation as you extend the arms once again. Maintain your lunge. Keep breathing. Good. Now we're going to straighten everything. Turn all the toes to point to the long edge of your mat. And then we're going to settle to warrior two right on the other side. Same thing here. A few breaths first. Feel free to adjust your feet. Since we move to the other side, you may need to make adjustments. Find your lunge where you want to be. And then same thing here. Stay in the lunge with the lower body. Arms lift, clench the palm or the fists, and then real slow, bring that imaginary weight bearing down, activate the arms, pull the shoulder blades toward each other a little bit, and then take the arms back out long, still nice and strong, nice and active into our lunge. Good. Once again, straighten everything. Bring the toes to face forward. Now we're just going to revolve a few times between warrior twos on both sides. So just like that. Straighten everything. Do a little footwork. Make any adjustments you need with your feet and toes on either side in order to be nice and balanced as we swap warriors here. Virabhadrasana 2, warrior pose. Maybe now you can think about syncing up the breath, inhaling as you lift, exhaling as you lower. Couple more rounds. If you need a rest in your arms, you can just take the arms to the hips and just focus on the lunge. Let's do one more toward the back of your mat, likely. And then as we head back into lunging through the right leg where we started, we're going to go back to straightening that leg, but keep the foot in that position where it is. Bring the hands to the hips. Walk the left leg in a foot or two, a foot's length or two. Then we're going to turn to face the short edge of our mat and fold down into pyramid pose. So pyramid pose is kind of like our legs are in triangle pose, but instead of opening to the side, we're bringing the torso to face down. If you have blocks at home or something else, the roll of paper towels is always a good one. This is a really great time to use. Put one or two under your hands. So the back heel is still down, but the toes are angling forward a little bit so we can drop forward in the stretch, get a big stretch to the back of the right leg. Few more breaths here. Use the breath to release into the pose. Think about long spine, so the crown of the head is reaching forward. The head's neither dropping nor lifting. Good. From here, we're going to spin that back foot so that we can drop the left knee and come down into our low lunge. So left knee or back knee down, and then just take a few moments here to drop down in the stretch. Again, this block, actually, if you had a block or something, then just keep it with you for the next few moments, because this is another great time to just bring the floor a little closer to you so you can keep the chest nice and lifted. And then from here, straighten the right leg, reach the toes up, coming back into half splits. Here the weight of the body is just above this knee. We're not sitting all the way back to our heel. So make any adjustments you need to if the weight is going back too far. And then Feel that big stretch, kind of same thing as pyramid, flexing through the toes. You'll get a little deeper stretch through a lot of different muscles of the leg. And then just a few rounds of rocking back and forth between the two. Returning to the breath, every chance you get to remember when you're not focusing too much on what we're doing in our movement, then remember to come back to the breath. From here, we're gonna head straight into pigeon. So if you're not familiar with pigeon pose, then follow me as I take us through a few modifications. If you are, then you can go ahead and walk that right foot over to the opposite edge of your mat, drop the shin down. And this is kind of the full version of pigeon pose we're gonna do in this class. We'll take our toes under in the back and then walk that leg back if you have anywhere to walk it to. So this is the full and most intense version. If your hips or knees are like, no, they're not doing that today, which is fine, then bring this back leg forward. And then you're kind of in like this cheerleader pose here, and then fold forward, still folding over that right leg. And if that's not great for you, then you're gonna come onto your back and do the same thing we did at the beginning of class. So go ahead and settle in the pigeon pose. If you're headed there, while I show the second option, it's just this figure four like we did on our backs. You're just gonna hold it. So 3 options: pigeon on the back, cheerleader style pigeon. I don't know, what is that? Do we call this stance cheerleader stance? That's the only thing I think of when I come into it. I don't think of modified pigeon, I think of cheerleaders. If you have your leg back behind you, then you can stay lifted up in the chest or you can come forward. So again, nice option, use a block under the forearms. Wherever the arms and hands are, just be careful to not be hunching or tensing through the shoulders. So if that's creating a tension in the shoulders or neck, then make adjustments in your body in order for you to be able to relax and settle into it a little bit. So continue breathing or intentionally here for a little bit longer. I'll try to keep track of my instruction at the front of this side versus the second side. But breathe deeply wherever you feel the most intensity. See if you can just imagine drawing the breath to that place and helping it to find a little bit more ease there. Finally, if you're in this fuller version, avoid letting the weight come over onto your right side. Try to keep things nice and even so the hips are almost floating in space. A few more moments here. Pigeon pose. Good. Slowly press yourself up. So we're going to head on to our bellies. So we're depending on which of those positions you're in, know that that's where we're headed next. Begin to slowly make your way there. But if you're facing forward, then go ahead and bring that right leg back to meet the left. You can just shake it out here. If you would like to pop up into down dog in order to stretch through the back of the legs, do whatever feels good to kind of even things out in between. And then we're going to come back and take a few more rounds of that cobra pose that we took before. So with the knees down or up if you'd like, slowly lower yourself down. And then once again, take the hands out wide, tend to the fingertips, and then just a few rounds on your own of that nice organic kind of roly-poly cobra. I really like the option to take one shoulder back at a time, so if that feels good too. Just remember the neck and the head are just following along, not leading the way. Press the tops of the feet into the floor, find the activation of the legs. Good. Coming back down, press yourself back, up to hands and knees, or down dog, and we're going to make our way to standing once again. So if you come to down dog, come up on the toes, step yourself forward to Uttanasana, join us here in any other way that you prefer, and just breathe into forward fold for a few more moments. And then this time, let's roll as if one vertebrae at a time. So keep the head down, let the arms hang, still a little bend in the knees, round the spine, slowly roll yourself up to standing. Roll the shoulders a few times. And then we're gonna go straight into warrior two on the other side. So stepping the right foot back, drop in to warrior two. I'm obviously changing sides because of facing the camera. So you step the left foot back the first time, right foot comes back this time. Few breaths here. And then we're going to head straight into our pyramid on this side. So slowly straightening this leg. We're gonna walk the right foot in. I'm sorry if I'm getting confused on the sides. And then turning toward the left leg. So I apologize. You're facing your left leg. I'm facing opposite direction as you. With those toes angling a little bit toward the top corner of the mat. Both legs are mostly straight. A little micro bend in the knees is always good. We're gonna fold forward toward the left leg in our prasarita, or I'm sorry, pyramid pose. Option here for block is great under the hands. Really finding that length through the spine, length out the crown of the head. Big stretch through the back of the left leg. Play with your hip joints here. If that's accessible to you, maybe kind of playing with what it would feel like to press one hip bone back and the other forward and vice versa, and feel how it changes the stretch through the back of the leg. You try to bring the hips more in line with one another. Good, from here we're gonna bend through that knee and bring the right knee down onto the mat. And just settle down into this low lunge. So again, blocks under the hands are great. If you can also just rest the arms on the leg if the floor feels a little too far away. But a few moments here, low lunge, kind of prepping the hips, especially this right hip with where we're headed for pigeon. And then slowly straightening the left leg, coming back to half splits. Again, the weight is just over the knee. You can always pad, of course, the knee by rolling up the edge of your mat using a blanket or pillow. Breathe deeply, flex those toes back toward you just slightly. And then from here, we'll come forward and set up for pigeon once again. So same options. If you'd like to take the full version, then walk that front foot over to the opposite edge of your mat and probably back toward you. So that heel for me is usually right about under my hip bone on the opposite side. So there's your option there. Coming into the cheerleader pose and folding forward, or coming onto your back and crossing that left ankle over the right leg are your three options for pigeon pose. If your leg is back behind you, you can curl the toes under and see if you can pull it back a little bit even more. And as you may know, if you have a lot of openness in your hips, then to go even deeper in this pose is taking that foot away from you so the shin becomes more parallel with the top of your mat. I recommend just keeping the heel underneath the hip bone unless you know you have a lot of openness. And really it's more openness almost through the IT band and the outer side of the leg in order to access that. So option to fold forward or to stay lifted, but either way, we're avoiding hunching the shoulders, avoiding clenching the jaw, avoiding holding the breath. Few more moments. Breathe deeply wherever you feel that most intensity. Breathe into that place. And if you have your back leg forward in that kind of cheerleader pose, then just play. You can even stretch a little bit to the left or to the right to kind of feel the different elements of stretching through that left hip. Good, let's slowly lift ourselves up. Once again, making your way to either hands and knees or downward dog. So if you want to stretch it out in downward dog, then go ahead and kick that leg back. You can also just kick it up and wiggle it around if you're not going to knock the books off of your shelf. Or you can just come onto hands and knees, take a few rounds of cat-cow, snake the spine left to right. Whatever feels good, just to wiggle it out, even it out. And then we'll go ahead and bring the knees to the mat if they're not there already. Let's take a few rounds of hip circles here. So just coming back to our neutral hands and knees pose. Take the hips off to one side, all the way back, and then all the way through back to hands and knees. Several rounds here. If you want to even step the hands forward, you can take it all the way forward to like a knee plank on the front side of that circle. Whatever feels good to you. This is really more just to work things out, even it out on our way back to being reclined. Go ahead and switch directions with your circle. So take about 4 or 5 either side. Breathing deeply as you move. And then as you come up, we're just going to take the knees off to one side in order to come to seated. Making our way to our backs in short order. So if you need anything for your shavasana, then make sure it's within arm's reach so you don't have to get back up once you're down. But with the feet about hip distance apart, first just hold on gently to the legs, roll the shoulders a couple times, sit up really tall. Take a big inhale, and as you exhale, round the back. You can lift the arms if you'd like. Slowly lower yourself onto your back. And then once you're there, just come down and relax for a few breaths, just feeling the weight of the spine and the vertebrae kind of settling toward the floor. Keep the feet bent for a moment, maybe a gentle tuck of the chin to just find that length through the back of the neck. Return to your breath, return to your intention. And here we're going to come into a restorative banana stretch. So we haven't done this one, I don't think, since we've been virtual. So, and when I say restorative, usually when I say that, what I mean is we're going to be in it longer than a lot of the other poses that we come into. So we're intentionally going to be in this for 3 minutes on each side. So how we're going to start this is by taking the legs out long, just straight down on your mat, taking the arms up overhead, straight overhead. So you're just in a straight line, also known as reclined handstand. So if anyone else, you can say you did handstand in class today, just the reclined version of handstand. Now, we're gonna walk our ankles over to the right. Maybe, I don't know, 6 or 12 inches if you can imagine what's down there. Don't worry about lifting your head and looking. Walk the ankles over to the right. Then we're gonna walk the arms also over to the right. So you're creating a C shape or a banana shape along the left side of your body. Now if that feels like too much, just keep the arms overhead and just do the legs. So just like a lot of the other stuff we've done, you can just come into this a little bit or a lot. So go ahead and walk the arms over now. Option to cross the left ankle over the right ankle. And when you do that, it's gonna just add a little bit more action in this big side stretch. You can grip your wrist if you'd like as well to kind of ground the arms. Now try to keep the left shoulder on the floor so we're not rolling our upper body over. So if it wants to, then bring the arms a little bit back in towards center. So banana shape on the left side of the body, or a C shape, the outside of the C. And if you want, you can just move in or out of this pose a little bit more on either the legs or the arms. So if you want to intensify it, take it over a little bit more. If you want to take it easy, take it back to center a little bit more. Play with it. We're about 1 minute in. And if you're like, well, this doesn't really feel like much, I just feel like I'm laying here, then enjoy just laying here and just know that this is a stretch that, for me anyway, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, I don't feel like a lot's happening when I'm here until I come out of it. And then when I come out of it, I'm like, oh, wow, that was really nice side opening. So continue to breathe here. Bring the fullness of the breath into the lungs, into the rib cage. And just let your head kind of fall naturally wherever it's gonna fall. So it may feel good to be looking up. It may feel good to let the gaze drape over toward your right. Don't worry too much about it as long as the back of the neck is nice and long and everything's relaxed. Close your eyes and breathe for about 1 more minute on this side. This is where in this final minute we maybe start to feel a little bit more release through the left waist, through the left hips. Hip, I guess there's just one hip if it's just on the left. Continue to breathe. My cat is here watching very intently. He's just off screen, but just barely. He's keeping his eye on us. And then we're going to start by taking the arms back towards center. And then if the ankles are crossed, just uncross the ankles and then walk the legs back again roughly towards center. And then keeping the legs long, just take a moment. You can keep the arms above or you can take them down. Just take a moment to neutralize, just relax. Kind of in a neutral Shavasana or pre-Shavasana. And then go ahead and draw the knees into the chest. Wrap your arms around them and rock left to right a few times to even things out a little bit more actively. Hopefully, maybe you can also now take a moment to feel the difference if your left side of your body feels a little different than the right. And let's go ahead and set up for the other side. So once again, start by just taking everything straight down. Take it nice and slow to come into this so we can be strategic with it. Start by taking the left heels over to your left heels, both heels to your left. And then walk the arms. Again, the right shoulder is staying down on the floor, but the arms are swaying over to the side. And then if you want a little bit more, you can cross the right ankle over the left. And then again, same options, just playing with the distance you've gone over to the side with both sets of limbs. The gaze can be up or just gently resting against the arms. And if your arms are floating, I didn't say this on the first side, but if your arms are like, my arms aren't laying flat on the floor, what are you talking about? It's okay. Maybe grab, like I have, this is a bolster, but just any pillow or couch cushion, or a block, just grab it so you can put your arms on top of that so that your arms can be resting. So what we don't want is you doing this, like holding your arms up in the air with your wrists up. So just try to relax the arms on something. And again, if that's not working for you, then just keep the arms in the middle or even take them down. and just focus on the swaying in the legs and the hips. So several more moments here. Breathing deeply, feeling this openness through the right side of the body, through the outside of the right hip. About one more minute. Breathing, not holding the breath, avoiding holding any tension in any parts of the body. Maybe even a little knee check. I kind of notice I'm locking my top knee, so I'm gonna make a little adjustment to try to create a little micro bend so my joints aren't locking out, putting any pressure there. These longer holds are really good for deep stretch and release, because just obviously just being there for a little bit more time helps the muscles to relax into things a little bit more, and helps the mind as well to calm down and settle into something instead of frantically moving on to the next thing. Good. Slowly walk the arms back in, walk the legs back towards center. And again, take the arms down by your side and just relax flat for a few moments. Just feel the evenness in both sides of the body. And then go ahead and draw the knees into the chest. Center yourself on your mat if you're not already. And just take a few rocks left to right. Any other movement here, we're headed for Shavasana or our final relaxation. So if there's any other movement or pose you'd like to take as you head there, please take it. And you can obviously take as many poses as you like since you're on your own at home. But otherwise, as soon as you're ready, go ahead and settle into Shavasana. So again, legs long, palms face up on the floor next to you. However, if that feels any tension or anything in the lower back, you can always keep the knees bent, let the knees straight bend toward one another. But continue laying back, take a few deep breaths, relaxing on the floor, palms face up, a little tuck of the chin to find that length through the back of the neck. Revisit your intention one more time as we take 3 big cleansing breaths, inhaling through the nose and exhaling like a big sigh out through the mouth. Again. Just feel yourself sink into the mat with every exhale. And as you let the last exhale go, just let your body begin breathing for itself, releasing any intention. Ensure that your jaw is relaxed, your face is relaxed, shoulders are nice and open. And we'll just be here for a few moments of quiet to let our body and breath and mind settle into balance. Continuing to settle yourself down for a few more moments here. As distractions come to mind, don't fight them, just acknowledge them, and then let them float by. Return to a sleepy, spacious place in the mind and body. And begin to, if you would like, wake yourself up by finding some small movements. Also, please feel welcome to stay in your Shavasana in your home as long as you like. I encourage longer if you can. Otherwise, find some small movements, eventually rolling off onto one side. Just relax there for a couple breaths. And then slowly, carefully pressing yourself gently up back to a seat. Finding your comfortable seat, cross-legged or otherwise. Sitting up nice and tall, bringing the hands to heart center. Take your time if you're not quite there yet. And then return to that intentional breath for just a few rounds. Nice, long, deep inhale and exhale, sitting up really tall. Thank you so much for being here this evening. It's a pleasure, an honor to practice with you, even virtually. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.